All right, everybody. Sorry for that. I getting set up here, and hope everyone's having a good afternoon this Saturday. And I wanted to talk about the nomination that supposedly is going to be Amy Barrett, and I want to talk about that a little bit. And I did a video this week about my thought of the top three people that could be the potential nominees for the replacement for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I named the three. I'm going to talk about those three real quickly. I did a little more research, and I had actually thought that President Trump would go with Barbara Lagoa. She's out of the, I think she's out of the 11th Court of Appeals, and that's in Florida. But it looks like he's going to go after Amy Coney Barrett. She's out of the 7th, and we'll talk about that. And let's talk about Allison Rushing as well. She's out of the 4th. And the reason why I think he decided to probably go with Ms. Barrett, if that is in fact who he goes with. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, first of all, welcome everyone to the Conservative Take. This is a live stream. This is a last minute live stream. Decided to do this simply because I thought that people were kind of back and forth on this, and I kind of want to talk about my thought process on what I felt could be the reason for him choosing Amy Barrett over a Barbara Lagoa. So give me a second here. Let me get set up real quick. I'll be back with you in about 2 minutes. All right. Sorry about that. Thank you, Price is Right. I appreciate that. I'm a one-man show today. My technician is out today, so I'm doing all this stuff, all these screens by myself. So it's not as easy as it looks. But anyway, thank you. So let me start over. So it's about 10 minutes until the announcement, and hopefully the audio will pick up on the feed from, this is from DC News, I believe. Anyway, hopefully that will come through. I made sure that's set up, I think, properly. And let me make sure it's coming up here just in case. All right. So I think we're okay. All right. So anyway, so I was beginning to say that Allison Rushing is from I think she's from the 4th Court of Appeals. And she is a young woman, actually, who's 38 years old, a very sound record. She was put on, I believe she's also put on by Trump as well. And she doesn't have a lot of experience, but she has a lot of principles. She's an originalist. In fact, from my research, all these women on this particular list are originalists. And what I mean by originalists are people who interpret the Constitution in its original wording. You know, musket would mean a modern day gun today. So of course they didn't have futuristic terminology, but the principle is what that's intended. So it's the intent of the Constitution versus what liberal judges believe that is a growing, breathing document, which basically is BS because they basically want to make it what they want to make it. It's a cop out. It's a way of making the country be what you want it to be, given the generation. Well, my question is, what if the generation you're in is totally immoral and corrupt? That's not what we were brought as a country. We were founded as a republic, a constitutional republic, simply meaning that the republic has certain values that are inherent to humans, and that would be God and morality. And so it's based on Judeo-Christian principle, and I can go into that for a long time, but I'm not going to do that. So, but she's the youngest one. And the second one is, I mentioned in my video this week, was Amy Coney Barrett. And this woman is someone who's a bit of a controversy, surprisingly, amongst conservatives. And I looked it up. And the main gripes that I've seen with her is that she was. Well, here. Hold on. Let me know if you guys can hear that. If you can hear the crowd, let me know. Otherwise, I will turn the volume down. Can you guys hear the audio from the crowd? Okay, yeah. Well, whatever. When they start talking, I will shut up and I'll put it on. So hopefully that will be fine. Anyway, so yeah, as far as Barrett's concerned, several things. She, Second Amendment, I believe, and also immigration and also death penalty. Two of those she decided to not take a stance on. I think that was death penalty and immigration. And people are concerned about other issues with Second Amendment. I'm not too familiar with that. Let's see. The Price is Right here now says that question for Barrett is over her stand over all Second Amendment and gun rights cases, and also vaccines as well. Vaccines are another issue that people have an issue with. That I have been flipped from that. All right, I haven't gone on record with my stance on vaccinations, but my hesitancy in answering the question should tell you my stance on it. Right? I mean, I think we've gone way overboard with vaccines. I think until someone can prove to me that they work and until we can actually hold vaccine companies accountable, I really don't want to have a discussion on it. But I do want to have the freedom to determine for myself and my family whether or not we should take the vaccines. And I know even Ben Carson, who's a medical doctor, obviously, said that they were given at too high quantity at too young an age. And so there's a lot of things in there. We can talk about that. So people were concerned about her on that. So let me go into, but other than that, and also she's a Catholic and she's actually strong on abortion, even though she has not made any ruling on abortion. People are just assuming that that's the case. So I'm gonna try to get this really quickly in the next 7 minutes. So then we go to Barbara Lagoa. She's of the 11th Court of Appeals in Florida, put on there by Trump, I believe, as well. And she is born of Cuban parents, and she's hard on crime. I mean, from what I read, that she was pretty much struck down penalties that would have given inmates. I don't know what ruling on it, but what I read was that she basically she's hard on crime. I won't say the specifics because I don't know specifically about that, but I know she's has a hard line on that. I know that she's backed by the Koch brothers. They like her, which makes me feel not too thrilled about that. But, you know, from what I understand, she's a solid person as well. And so with going with Amy Barrett, that's the question. So, but see, for me, here's the big deal. The big deal for me, the whole thing is I don't care who he picks, as long as they're a constitutionalist, they're originalists, and they take each case by case and apply the Constitution and all Federalist Papers and any opinions that are sound based on that and make rulings. I know we don't want people to be activist judges, but I do want people to make sound cases. And if it just so happens that those cases overrule precedent because they were wrong, like let's say Dred Scott, right? I mean, then those need to be overturned. Sorry, and that's just what it is. So I don't care. But the thing for me is a time frame. And the whole deal with what the left are trying to do to get a majority so that they can push forth these mail-in ballots, that's going to be a total cluster that's going to turn this whole election cycle into a circus. How are you going to have Trump voters, all 60 million of us are going to show up on election day? We don't care. We get COVID, whatever. I'll risk it because I want to go vote. Because to me, my health for let's say this, my health for a virus with a 99% recovery, I'll take my chances, all right, for the freedom of this country. And a lot of people feel like me, and we're going to show up 60 million plus on election day. Those people are scared and locked down because of the governors told them to, their people within their own parties told them to, the mayors have told them to be scared about everything. So they're going to trust that the mail-in ballots are going to be valid. Well, unfortunately, some of those mail-in ballots policies are not valid for this particular state they're mailed in. Like North Carolina has like a 3-day deadline. They're extending that thing out to like weeks. And they're assuring the people who are taking these mail-in ballots that they're going to be okay. They're going to be authenticated. They're going to be ratified. Well, I don't think so. President Trump and the Republicans have lawyered up, and they've put in place people to thwart and to hinder and to make sure that these elections results are verified within the time frame they need to be verified. And if those fights continue on to the Supreme Court, which is what the left wants to happen, well, then it'll just happen there, and it'll be decided there. And that's why this pick is so important, because, you know, I'm less concerned about the policies of immigration and gun control, whatever, just as long as they're constitutionalists on the simple precedent of, you know, not allowing these mail-in ballots to go forward. That's the number one issue I care about. Because when Trump gets reelected, guess what? You're going to have Breyer, who's 82 years old. You know, I don't want to wish any ill will on him, but, you know, you have Clarence Thomas. He may want to resign. Okay. He may want to make that court younger. And so I don't think this is going to be the last pick that President Trump is going to make. So if he wants to put on a Lagoa or someone else on this, or Rushing or anyone else, a number of the other Supreme Court nominees on the list, which, by the way, Joe Biden won't give us a list. You know why? I guess because he doesn't want to see that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are on his and Hillary Clinton are on his list. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, but he's not putting it forth a list because he doesn't want to know people. He does not want people to know how radical leftist he really is willing to go. And that's my thought on that. So that's really all I had to say in a nutshell. What are you guys talking about over here? Let me see here. Let's go through some of these comments here. Go stuff at the top and say fellow conservatives. But I'm going to now on these comments. If you don't want me to show these comments, just put an asterisk by your name or whatever, and I won't flash it on the screen. And I'll make my own discretion if I see something on here that I would think people wouldn't want to see. Like you give me your social security number. I wouldn't put that on the screen. I will use some discretion. So here we have the prices right now let's see. Hi, my fellow conservative brother. I'm glad to join you here. Me too. Thank you so much. Let me see here. Good day, Mr. Suggs, sir. Excellent to see your stream. Thank you, Google Barber Learner Spectre. You're awesome. Thank you. Let me see here. We have my biggest things about any judge candidate to SCOTUS is an originalist and a textualist. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what textless means. Give me a comment on there. I'm going to guess what that means. I guess what I'm assuming it means that what is written is what they mean, and the original just means the context and the overall, with the context of it, and the text would be what's in the text. That's what I would imagine. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. I've never actually heard that term. That's awesome. And one thing about having a YouTube channel, I have so many people come on here and tell me things I had never heard before, and I learn along the way. So typically when I do a video, I research it based on references that I think are sound, and I basically go off on that and I give my own opinion on that, and I go from there. And it seems to be pretty good. But I have a lot of experience in politics too. I've run campaigns on a statewide level, somewhat statewide level. I mean, of like a state house. So whatever that means, right? I've done that, and I've done all kinds of stuff with the Republican Party, Young Republicans, and Civic as well. Running a nonprofit for a year. So yeah, I've done a bunch of stuff, but in terms of like judicial stuff, I'm still kind of a novice on that. So I am no longer mute. Let me see what we have here. Susan, let me see, read this here. Okay, I'll put this up here. Okay, this says, a day I've prayed for 38 years, but never hoped to live to see. Praise God. You know, Susan, I heard people, I'm assuming you're mentioning about Roe v. Wade, and I'm just guessing here. But if not, I'm going to put that into this particular context. That I heard that the day that passed, the Christians around the country were weeping because I just can't imagine how sad that must have been a day for people who are not even just Christians. I mean, just human beings who have a common decency. And I know how I felt when Obamacare went through. I remember that particular vote and how depressed I was when that happened. I can't imagine the ruling that happened. So I'm assuming that's what you mean. This will give the Supreme Court a 6-4 advantage. You know, Judge Roberts, you know, who knows what his stance is. I mean, he is at the minimum, it gives us 6-4, right? Is that right? Correct. So the justices would be Breyer, would be Sotomayor, and I'm forgetting the other lady. I'm drawing a blank on her right now. And then you have Thomas, and you have Alito, Roberts, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch. And then the other person would be Barrett, or whomever he brings on today. I mean, we're assuming it's Barrett. And so of those three would be basically Sotomayor, the other lady, I can't remember her name right now, I'm sorry, and Breyer. And then that would be what, seventh? That would be sorry about my math, guys. That would be 6-3. Is that right? Yes. And then if Roberts would come on the other way, it would be 5-4. So this way, it pretty much assures that no shenanigans will happen with the Supreme Court going forward with the mail-in voting, given that the new judge is going to be a reasonable originalist. In this case, the Price is Right says text is simply meaning interpreting the laws as they were written. Okay. Okay, cool. Brianna Yu says, okay, here says, I love your content. Thank you very much, Brianna Yu. These are people that I haven't seen, actually, by the way. And a lot of people, I love everybody on these chats. If you just watch and don't say anything, I still love it because I know people, are chiming in and they're supporting me. And I am just been so humbled by everything on this channel. And I started this thing I remember I would have live streams with like no people on, and people would come on as trolls and laugh at me. I was like, okay, yeah, no viewers, man, whatever. And they run out. So, but I felt obligated to do it because I said I was going to do it. And by the end of the stream, I would have like 3 or 4 that would come on. And I've always thought that if you're going to build something, you build something that you love, that you think is important. I think the president's coming here, guys. I'm about to shut up. And then you just do it. No matter if you're talking to a brick wall, you just do it. So let me just shut up here. I think the president's coming on. Oops. Did I do something wrong here? Uh-oh. And I'll flash some content here. But I try to be quiet. I won't talk over the president.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Stand before you today to fulfill one of my highest and most important duties under the United States Constitution, the nomination of a Supreme Court Justice. This is my third such nomination after Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh, and it is a very proud moment indeed. Over the past week, our nation has mourned the loss of a true American legend. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a legal giant and a pioneer for women. Her extraordinary life and legacy will inspire Americans for generations to come. Now we gather in the Rose Garden to continue our never-ending task, ensuring equal justice and preserving the impartial rule of law. Today it is my honor to nominate one of our nation's most brilliant and gifted legal minds to the Supreme Court. She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty to the Constitution, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. We're also joined by Amy's husband, Jesse. Thank you, Jesse, very much. And their 7 beautiful children. Congratulations to you all. Very special day. With us as well are the First Lady. Along with Vice President Mike Pence and his amazing wife, Karen. Thank you very much.
I'm actually getting a little emotional here.
Judge Barrett is a graduate of Rhodes College and the University of Notre Dame Law School. At Notre Dame, she earned a full academic scholarship, served as the executive editor of the Law Review, graduated first in her class, and received the Law School's award for the best record of scholarship and achievement. Upon graduation, she became a clerk for Judge Lawrence Silberman on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. Amy then received one of the highest honors a young lawyer could have, serving as a clerk on the Supreme Court for Justice Antonin Scalia. A very highly respected law professor. Notre Dame wrote to Justice Scalia with a one-sentence recommendation: Amy Coney is the best student I ever had. That's pretty good. Justice Scalia hired her shortly thereafter, and we are honored to have his wonderful wife, Maureen. Where is Maureen? Maureen Scalia with us today. Thank you. And our great Secretary of Labor, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Very good genes in that family, I will say. Very good genes. Before joining the bench, Judge Barrett spent 15 years as a professor at the University of Notre Dame Law School. She was renowned for her scholarship, celebrated by her colleagues and beloved by her students. 3 times she was selected at Notre Dame Distinguished Professor of the Year. When I nominated Judge Barrett to serve on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit in 2017, every law clerk from her time at the Supreme Court endorsed her nomination, writing, quote, "We are Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, yet we write to support the nomination of Professor Barrett to be a circuit judge. Professor Barrett is a woman of remarkable intellect and character. She is eminently qualified for the job. And I can tell you, I did that too. I looked and I studied, and you are very eminently qualified for this job. You are going to be fantastic. Thank you. Really fantastic. The entire Notre Dame law facility and faculty, everybody at that school also, we got so many letters, also wrote letters of support of Amy's nomination to the 7th Circuit. He wrote, in effect, despite our differences, we unanimously agree that our constitutional system depends upon an independent judiciary staffed by talented people, devoted to the fair and impartial administration of the rule of law, and we unanimously agree that Amy is such a person. For the last 3 years, Judge Barrett has served with immense distinction on the federal bench. Amy is more than a stellar scholar and judge. She's also a profoundly devoted mother. Her family is a core part of who Amy is. She opened her home and her heart and adopted 2 beautiful children from Haiti. Her incredible bond with her youngest child, a son with Down syndrome, is a true inspiration. If confirmed, Justice Barrett will make history as the first mother of school-age children ever to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. That's good. To her children, Emma, Vivian, Tess, John Peter, Liam, Julian, and Benjamin, thank you for sharing your incredible mom with our country. Thank you very much. Amy Coney Barrett will decide cases based on the text of the Constitution as written. As Amy has said, being a judge takes courage. You are not there to decide cases as you may prefer. You are there to do your duty and to follow the law wherever it may take you. That is exactly what Judge Barrett will do on the U.S. Supreme Court. I want to thank the members of the Senate. We have so many of them here today. Thank you very much. I see you in the audience and you're so proud. But I want to thank you for your commitment and to providing a fair and timely hearing. I know it will be that. Judge Barrett was confirmed to the Circuit Court 3 years ago by a bipartisan vote. Her qualifications are unsurpassed, and her record is beyond reproach. This should be a straightforward and prompt confirmation. It should be very easy. Good luck. It's going to be very quick. I'm sure will be extremely non-controversial. You said that the last time. Anyway. Well, thank you all very much, and thank you for being here. It's really good. very, very proud. Please, Amy, say a few words. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am deeply honored by the confidence that you have placed in me. And I am so grateful to you and the First Lady, to the Vice President and the Second Lady, and to so many others here for your kindness on this rather overwhelming occasion. I fully understand that this is a momentous decision for a president. And if the Senate does me the honor of confirming me, I pledge to discharge the responsibilities of this job to the very best of my ability. I love the United States, and I love the United States Constitution. I am truly humbled by the prospect of serving on the Supreme Court. Should I be confirmed, I will be mindful of who came before me. The flag of the United States is still flying at half-staff in memory of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to mark the end of a great American life. Justice Ginsburg began her career at a time when women were not welcome in the legal profession. But she not only broke glass ceilings, she smashed them. For that, she has won the admiration of women across the country and indeed all over the world. Yes. She was a woman of enormous talent and consequence, and her life of public service serves as an example to us all. Particularly poignant to me was her long and deep friendship with Justice Antonin Scalia, my own mentor. Justices Scalia and Ginsburg disagreed fiercely in print without rancor in person. Their ability to maintain a warm and rich friendship, despite their differences, even inspired an opera. These two great Americans demonstrated that arguments, even about matters of great consequence, need not destroy affection. In both my personal and professional relationships, I strive to meet that standard. I was lucky enough to clerk for Justice Scalia, and given his incalculable influence on my life, I am very moved to have members of the Scalia family here today, including his dear wife, Maureen. I clerked for Justice Scalia more than 20 years ago, but the lessons I learned still resonate. His judicial philosophy is mine too. A judge must apply the law as written. Judges are not policymakers, and they must be resolute in setting aside any policy views they might hold. The president has asked me to become the 9th justice, and as it happens, I'm used to being in a group of 9, my family. Our family includes me, my husband Jesse, Emma, Vivian, Tess, John Peter, Liam, Juliet, and Benjamin. Vivian and John Peter, as the president said, were born in Haiti, and they came to us 5 years apart when they were very young. And the most revealing fact about Benjamin, our youngest, is that his brothers and sisters unreservedly identify him as their favorite sibling. Our children obviously make our life very full. While I am a judge, I'm better known back home as a room parent, carpool driver, and birthday party planner. When schools went remote last spring, I tried on another hat. Jesse and I became co-principals of the Barrett e-Learning Academy. And yes, the list of enrolled students was a very long one. Our children are my greatest joy, even though they deprive me of any reasonable amount of sleep. I couldn't manage this very full life without the unwavering support of my husband, Jesse. At the start of our marriage, I imagined that we would run our household as partners. As it has turned out, Jesse does far more than his share of the work. To my chagrin, I learned at dinner recently that my children consider him to be the better cook. For 21 years, Jesse has asked me every single morning what he can do for me that day. And though I almost always say nothing, he still finds ways to take things off my plate. And that's not because he has a lot of free time. He has a busy law practice. It's because he is a superb and generous husband, and I am very fortunate. Jesse and I have a life full of relationships, not only with our children, but with siblings, friends, and fearless babysitters, one of whom is with us today. I am particularly grateful to my parents, Mike and Linda Coney. I have spent the bulk of my adulthood as a Midwesterner, but I grew up in their New Orleans home. And as my brother and sisters can also attest, Mom and Dad's generosity extends not only to us, but to more people than any of us could count. They are an inspiration. It is important at a moment like this to acknowledge family and friends. But this evening, I also want to acknowledge you, my fellow Americans. The President has nominated me to serve on the United States Supreme Court, and that institution belongs to all of us. If confirmed, I would not assume that role for the sake of those in my own circle, and certainly not for my own sake. I would assume this role to serve you. I would discharge the judicial oath, which requires me to administer justice without respect to persons, do equal right to the poor and rich, and faithfully and impartially discharge my duties under the United States Constitution. I have no illusions that the road ahead of me will be easy, either for the short term or the long haul. I never imagined that I would find myself in this position. But now that I am, I assure you that I will meet the challenge with both humility and courage. Members of the United States Senate, I look forward to working with you during the confirmation process, and I will do my very best to demonstrate that I am worthy of your support. Thank you.
Come on up, family. Come on up, family. I want to acknowledge Attorney General Bill Barr. Bill, thank you very much for being here. Chief of Staff, thank you very much. Chief, you're doing a great job. And all of the senators, please, we really appreciate it. And I know you're going to have a busy couple of weeks, but I think it's going to be easier than you might think. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Congratulations, Amy.
All right, sorry, you can't hear me. I was talking. All right, so I didn't say much. All I was gonna say was, yeah. So I put this question up here for a man and a half, and it's a really good question. It says, "Hey Kyle, do you think Democrats will attack Judge Barrett as viciously as they attacked Judge Kavanaugh? For a party that is supposed to be champion of women, that tactic would be risky, wouldn't it?" I would say you're right. And that's a point that I hadn't actually mentioned. So my point was, and I think also someone else brought this up as well. I'll bring up his point as well. Let me see if I can find it. I think Blood, Sweat, and Gears said, take some time to pull up. So if they do, then they are risking everything for naught. There would be no way that she would not be seated. I think that's the thing, right? So my thought of not picking her was because she might be the one who may not be seated. But I said at the end of my video was that it all depends on McConnell and what kind of votes they have. We all know that Mitt Romney said he was on board, but I would just count him as a no anyway. You know, McCluskey of Alaska, and you have Collins. You kind of just count those as no's regardless. I mean, they may do it because they want to be reelected and they want to not go against a losing side, because who wants to be the vote against history? So, but there could be other ones out there who may dissent. But the ones who voted for Kavanaugh, I mean, they're rock solid. I mean, if you can get through Kavanaugh and hold firm, then you would do it. Mitch McConnell, you know, people can talk about him. I talk much trash about Mitch McConnell prior to Trump, you know, but he's become in my book a legendary status, and I'll talk about that in another time. But he's done a really good job whipping these people and getting these appellate court judges in place as well. So anyway, so to the point of attacking Kavanaugh, I think the main reason why they won't be as hard as Kavanaugh is because they won't have the time to do it. And I think with her being a female, it's going to be even tougher because, you know, you're not going to have. It's just harder to find stuff on women in society today. I mean, and then to turn around and say that you're championing women. You know, they accuse Kavanaugh of rape, running a sex gang, or, you know, a prostitution ring. They had this guy some sort of like, you know, some sort of like kingpin, you know, in high school, you know. It's like, so, you know, I don't know if they're going to do anything that particularly crazy. I'm not sure they can, because they've kind of already shown their hand. They've already shown what they're capable of. And at this point, the only thing they can really do to shock people is to do nothing. And that would be my thing, is to do what you need to do, call your senators and that sort of thing, you know, within the, you know, but in terms of like beating on the doors of the Supreme Court or, you know, burning buildings down, that's so like last week, right? I mean, burning down cities, that's like, you know, that's so old. That's like so last month, right? So the originality for the protests is going to have to be stepped up, or they just have to not do it and they actually do these things legitimately by actually talking about in-person voting, right? Because that's really where they're going to have to kind of, you know, do this thing. Because, thank you for the hat, by the way. So because they're going to have to figure out a way to win this election without having to cheat. And right now, I'm not sure if they can do it. All right. You know, you have Joe Biden, who's supposed to be debating in 3 days, and I'm not convinced he's going to be able to do it. I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. What do you guys think? Do you think Joe Biden's going to actually show up on Tuesday? I've heard a couple of things about his wife visiting someone who had COVID, and that, you know, there may be a situation where, you know, they may say Biden can't debate because he's quarantined or whatever. And then there's the thing that happened with MSNBC today, where he was incoherent. I mean, more than normal. And so it's almost like they're setting it up for that to happen. And knowing the media, they probably won't do it until the day of to make a dramatic effect of it, to make it seem really legitimate. And I don't know, you know, we all knew that when Epstein, you know, didn't hang himself, we called that weeks prior to it happening. We said, oh yeah, when he got arrested, he's going to get suicided. We all called it. It's like, and when it happened, we're like, it was almost like when it actually happened, when Epstein was actually was found hanged, I thought it was a joke. That was another joke saying, oh yeah, you know, because we've been talking about it for days. And so it's almost like just Joe Biden thing. When he doesn't show up for the debate, it's almost going to be like, oh, when you first find out that's as official, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's probably a joke because we've been talking about this for weeks. And I just don't know how he's going to be able to do it, but they're going to have to figure out a way of winning this election legitimately. But they have serious problems all across the board. They have problems with Latinos in Florida. I mean, Florida, Trump is up 4 in a liberal poll, Washington Post poll in Florida right now. He's up 1 point in a liberal Washington Post poll in Arizona. And I said, if Trump can win 2 or 3 states, if he can win 3 states, if he can win Arizona, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania, pick any 3, he's got this. He's going to win Ohio. He's going to win Iowa. He's going to win Florida. He's going to win North Carolina. He's going to win Texas, despite what everybody's saying about it. He's going to win South Carolina. He's going to win Georgia in a smaller margin, probably. The only areas where he may not have problems with are those 3 states. And it looks like he may take Minnesota, New Hampshire. He may take so this could be, and I'm gonna do a video on this because I think this could really be an exciting time for us. I'm not predicting anything could happen, it's politics. But this, if things break the way they're breaking now on election day, it's gonna be an utter bloodbath. And it's not gonna be a bloodbath for Biden, it's gonna be a bloodbath for Democrats across the board. You're gonna see the kind of wave of elections we saw back in, what was it? We saw a wave one in, let me get my years right. 2014, 2014, definitely. 2010, that was the big one. That was when the Tea Party came in, and we just saw everything change then. But of course, so I see something like that nature happening at the House level. I see us getting the House back. If everything breaks the way it's supposed to break, and people are just pissed off at Democrats and just go straight ticket, and just like, look, I'm out of here. I don't have time for this. Straight ticket, pick the judges, and I'm done. And pick my maybe note all the local ballots that are on your thing to to raise your taxes for your city bonds. Check note all the city bonds. Pick my judges. Straight ticket Republican. I'm out. There's no and making sure and verifying that after you pick that ticket, that you go back and check to make sure you ones are staying the way they are, because sometimes those things change at the end. You can't put anything past these Democrats, man. You really can't. So let me look at some of these questions here. Let's see. I like this stuff here, guys. Let me come to my other computer here. It's a little faster. All right. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Let me just microphone here. Yeah. So I heard Democrats and Barrett revise herself from any election judgments. Okay. Let me do this. I'm going this way. I got 2 screens going here. I'm trying to do this the best way possible. It's kind of slow. I got lag on one PC. All right. Let me just read some of these instead of showing on the screen. It says Dems painted themselves in a corner with Biden. If he shows up, Trump will mop the stage with him. If Biden backs out, Trump will have more ammo to paint Biden as weak and not fit for president. That's from Man and a Half. And I want to talk about that because that was actually one of my bullet points here that I didn't actually mention. So, so right now, the big thing right now is for independence. Okay, we're not going to see any movement left or right. The people who are Republican are going to stay with Trump. People who are Democrat are going to stay Democrat. There's a faction of both parties that aren't going to vote for either one. They're going to vote third party or not at all. You have a lot of people who on the far left don't like Biden because they feel like they're being used by the Democrats, and that once they do get in office, then they're actually going to be kicked to the can. And a lot of people who are still never Trumpers who won't vote for Trump because of whatever their reasons are. But for the most part, those factions are going to be locked in stone. That middle piece of it, that's going to be the big part, right? And that's the part that Biden would definitely need to get his message out to, because he hasn't been vetted at all with those voters. You have to understand that independents don't care about all of this stuff. They're the ones who actually watch the NFL, right? Independents are the ones who are watching baseball now. They're the ones that go to movies and like, oh, I don't see any problem with this. I don't see any problem with what's going on. They're oblivious to that sort of thing. They're just trying to live their life, but they know that they have to vote every 4 years. So they do, and they pretty much vote out of their pocketbook. That's kind of how independents roll for the most part. And so, if Biden isn't giving any reason for them to vote for him, then they're either going to vote for Trump, because they're going to be like, well, he did a good job prior to the coronavirus, and polling right now is showing that the American people aren't blaming Trump for the virus. I mean, we do have common sense, and his handling of it couldn't be that bad, because they're already talking about, going back to school and playing sports and all that stuff. So things are coming back to normal slowly. So there's that. So why vote for Biden? And that's why the debates are important for Biden. So, but I guarantee you, if he could back out of it and gain politically, he would do it. So the only reason why he won't back out from doing that is because he's worried about what Man and a Half just said here indirectly, was that, you know, it's going to give Trump a lot of ammo, and it's going to really alienate him from the independents who are desperately looking for some issues from Democrats outside of Orange Man bad. So let me see here. If I disagree here. Okay, cool. Wait. Says there are some female red voters who voted the historic Hillary vote. They will now either sit out or move to Trump. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I know that the woman vote came out stronger for Trump than was originally thought. That was definitely for sure. Let me see here. Some religious voters. Let me see here. This is lagging so much. Same with religious voters. Many will move red, in particular if Barrett gets a hit job by Democrats. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Way to be a team player there, because I was going to mention that. You're right, exactly right. That and this is the reason why I did this live stream. I'm glad you mentioned that. So the reason why I did this live stream was because I want to say that the reason why Trump probably picked Barrett was because, and this I got this from Dinesh D'Souza. I can't take credit for this, but he said basically that Trump is trying to pick what the left hates the most and then do exactly the opposite. And a person like Barrett is someone who they just don't like for whatever reason it is, and it's probably because of the abortion issue. And so he chose her for that reason. And I thought, well, why would he do that if it's just to make him mad? And I thought, oh, because they'll overreact. They'll go with Kavanaugh, and then they will really, they really alienate the voters. And one thing they've shown now in Florida is that the Latino Hispanic vote has shifted dramatically away from Black Lives Matter. It's gone from 54. It actually has never been higher than 40% with Latinos. They've always kind of saw through that. But the overall impression of Black Lives Matter has gone from 54% way down to, I believe, 38%. I mean, the what they've done and shown is been so off-putting to the American voter that they don't want any part of it. And another thing that is true is that when there's any kind of civil unrest, it is always the benefit of the conservative party in power or in place, because people want law and order, they want stability. And that's a traditional thing that we've seen all throughout. If you go out back and look at the election of 72, Richard Nixon, he was all about law and order. And what happened? He won like every state, except for, I believe, he even won Minnesota, I believe. He won just about every state. It was completely red because people wanted stability. They want law and order. They thought Nixon could deliver that. And Trump is just kicking it on all cylinders, man. And I'm not going to stay on here much longer. I want to jump off here a little bit to do some other things I got to look at. But I do want to talk about the debate. I do want to talk about the things that Trump has set up for the debate. He set up this thing with the Platinum Plan, which I haven't got a chance to even look at. It's his plan to, I think it's $500 billion in capital infrastructure to the Black community. I mean, real constructive type stuff. I mean, and to be fair, there's a little bit of slightly pandering in there with the federal holiday for Juneteenth. I'm not big on that. However, it's brilliant. It's totally brilliant. And here's the deal with that. He's giving a lot of infrastructure and things that are really, really good that's going to actually help the community in ways that's not even remotely near what the Democrats can offer. So he's just showing that little jab in there, that little jab in there with the holiday mention to just totally disarm them. I mean, it's like, what? How can you? I can't. They're probably going into conniptions. And so that's a good debate point that he has, right? And then the whole thing, I think there's one more issue I thought he did recently. It was with the Medicare. I'm sorry, not Medicare. It was with this prescriptions cards for people who couldn't afford medication. You know, just because one thing that the Republicans have been really weak on since Obamacare has been in is some other solution for Obamacare. It's been a strong point that the Republicans just have not done a really good job at. It's one of the reasons why in 2018, it was as close as it was, and why the Republicans, outside of the fact that Act Blue threw $1 billion into last month illegally into elections like California to overrun the electorate to get the to get the majority. But outside of that, the only issue they really had was healthcare. That was a legitimate, really issue that people really cared about. And I think with that going into the debate, as well as the platinum plan, as well as its overall record, as well as asking Joe Biden, "Hey, what about out the window? You see those people outside with pitchforks and flamethrowers? You want to talk about that? You know those guys. That's your boys, right? Antifa, BLM. You want to talk about them? You haven't talked about them at all in your entire 4-day convention. You want to mention that? Can you let the entire country know for the first time ever what your stance on is rioting in this country? And outside of your little flippant little response saying, "Hey, well, I strongly discourage rioting." I'm sorry, Biden, that's not good enough 4 months after the fact. All right, I'm sorry. I'm getting on a rant. Yes, and Nixon won all state shooters. I couldn't remember what that was. That's probably the Kennedy effect. Let me see. Rhode Island. Well, yeah, somewhere up there. DC might have gone from McGovern. Yeah. So, okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. We've been on here for about an hour. I want to thank the 2 people who gave the super chats. I think I mentioned that. I can't get back on the screen to thank you. I'll do that in another video. I really appreciate it. I was saying, here we go. I want to say John Carpenter for the $5 and Tina Marie for the $5. I'm really humbled and just honored to even be, looked at that you would give up your hard-earned money to what we do. I will say this: it will go to a good cause because I think that the more we give out, the more we'll get. And I also want to say before the live stream started, and I'll say this now, I'll stop the live stream, is that starting this thing was sort of like one of these things where I felt like what I saw on TV and the media, and particularly in my entertainment, I love movies. I just saw how people who didn't care about the genre of whatever it was, in this case, I'm referring to Star Wars. And in case you don't know, Darth Vader hangs out with me all the time on all my live feeds. And occasionally I'll have a Washington Redskins helmet on here if it's dealing with sports. And so that's kind of what my whole thing was with dealing with the live stream. It was really about politics. Because if you go back to the original about section, I said, we're not going to endorse a candidate on this channel. We're just going to talk about the culture TV movies and why it's going out of control. Why, when you watch a movie, you feel like you're being lied to. But then I noticed it happening all over the place. I saw it happening on commercials. I saw it happening in sports. I saw it happening, and of course, in politics. I'm like, okay, this is carrying over into politics. So I have to talk about politics. When you have Hollywood bringing up, I'm not saying they're doing this, but in effect, burning the American flag on the stage at the Oscars of a show that I pretty much treated as the Super Bowl growing up, it was very disheartening. And so I had to say something about it. And so that just went into, from my own personal Suggs.com into the Conservative Take, because that was actually the movie reviews I was doing. And it's kind of growing into this. And about 3,000 subscribers later, here we are. And so I'm just really humbled by all of it. And what I want to do particularly is continue to give content that's of a high quality as best I can do it when I'm doing it. And that will only get better as I get more resources and things happen. And I already have people that I'm looking at to hire for editors and for people who can do content management, do blog reviews and that sort of thing. And so what's going to end up happening is this is going to grow hopefully into something that's going to be, well, I won't go there. If you want to know more about the channel, I have a membership section now that we do now. We have 3 tiers. I'll talk. You can go see for yourself. Just check the join button. You can see it's all there. But for people who really want to plug in, there's a section in there, and I go over the business model that we're trying to do and build, and actually expand to other people who want to do it too. So we're going to duplicate this to other people. Well, it's kind of a spoiler to those who don't know. So that's my whole thought about this thing, was to expand this, because the media, in a nutshell, is not doing their jobs. If the media, if MSNBC, and this is the last thing I'll say, guys, if MSNBC, if CNN, if Facebook, if the Silicon Valley people out there, if they did their jobs, and I'm not talking about carrying Trump's water, I don't want you to be like me. You know, I'm a fanboy. I'm a Trump fanboy. All right. I admit, right? But I don't expect that. But at least call it, if they can call it 70-30. Right now it's like 99-0, right? 99.9 to 0.01, right? If it could just be 70-30 negative, I wouldn't have to do this. I would not have to do any of this. I could spend time with my family. I could, watch a movie. I could, do some other things, talk about kittens and dogs and the Redskins. But I can't. And I can't sit by this country and see it go by. Without me doing something. I can't have my grandkids ask me a question. Well, Kyle, Daddy, well, Grandpa, what did you do? I can't have that. So before I get too emotional, I'm going to cut it off here, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to do probably a top 3 show next week. And with that, I thank you guys for hanging out with me. And congratulations to Barrett, her family. This is an exciting time. And for everyone here, write your congressman and actually, in this case, your senators, and let them know that you support this. Even if you don't like her, and there may be some areas. Now, the whole thing with the 10th Amendment, I totally get that, so I'm good there. But the vaccination thing is probably dealing with 10th Amendment too. So I don't care about that right now. I want someone in there that's going to be a stopgap between them trying to steal this election. That to me is the most important thing. Because if she gets in there and does that and turns out to be a horrible justice, well, then we have 2 more chances to get her, to do that. We'll deal with that down the road. I don't think that's going to happen based on what I've heard about her. So we're good. And I think with this appointment going in, if Lindsey Graham does what he says he's going to do, I think he will, because he's kind of pissed off right now. And McConnell, who's a total stud right now in the Senate, legendary status, like I've said before, then we should be good to go. So let your senators know that you support this, and let's meet up another time and we can talk about this later. So if you guys like, again, what I do in this channel, where I take culture, TV, movies, and politics, and I filter it to you the right way, then please hit that like and subscribe button, that bell icon, so you don't miss any future content. Please also, if you want to find out more about us, what we're trying to do, if you want to plug in more, we have a join button now. You can click on that. It'll tell you all about that and what's that involved there. If you want to help us along there, I'll be eternally grateful for you. I'll be eternally grateful for you on that. And so with that, I hope you guys have a pleasant evening. Happy Saturday, and I will see you guys next time.